Hi, everyone. Welcome to the E of Wonder podcast. Today, I'm so excited for this wonderful guest, Erin Tauscher. She has been an entrepreneur for 25 years, and I met her, I think, when I was probably like in my early 20s.
Yes.
She is the founder of Trio Films, which she rebranded to Splendid, a production company, which then recently merged with a company called Bodega. Welcome to the E of Wonder podcast, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about this merger, this joint venture with Bodega.
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, an opportunity kind of came to us, my business partner and I, and it was a New York-based company, and they were looking for Los Angeles-based producers and who had had a company, particularly an office space. So we took the meeting, not thinking anything about it, and we really liked the owners. And for a couple of years now, we had been thinking about expanding ourselves out to New York because a lot of our business is based on the East Coast. To make a long story short, we really like them. They kind of gave us everything we wanted, and it's been 7 years now. And it's been really successful for both parties. And it's just been fun, like being a part of something bigger, because it was always just my business partner, Taylor, and myself, and a few assistants. And now it's a company of 65, 70 people, a whole New York entity that can really serve us any way we need. And it's been wonderful. So we'll see how long this lasts. I'm hoping it's a long-term something. I think it will be. But yeah, that's been really nice for us.
And you're part of the Northern Family conglomerate?
It's the Northern Lights family. And so that's comprised of 4 separate companies, and we are the production arm of that entity.
So tell us more about what you do in your business.
So I am an executive producer, and we mostly produce television commercials. We've been working a lot with streamers. We also work with networks, but mostly my core focus for my directors who we have exclusive contracts with are for commercials. So right now, next week, I'm shooting here in Los Angeles on a big pharmaceutical project. I think I can say for Mongiorno. And we do everything, comedy, you name it, we produce it in the advertising space. And if you were watching Netflix Football Christmas Day, you will see the big open with Kelly Clarkson. We had a hand in producing that whole open. The Northern Lights family did that. So it just really depends. But anything media related, that's what we produce.
So how did you get started with starting Trio Films and then rebranding to Splendid?
So I started in television right after college, which is where I met you in New York City. And I was working at MTV News, but that was my start right out of college. And so I worked there during the weekday. And then on the weekends, I worked at NBC News with Brian Williams. You know this whole story. And I don't know, I got a bit disillusioned with the news business kind of early on, and the grind of New York. I mean, I was really young. I was in my 20s. It was right after college. It was my first job. And my sister was a producer in Los Angeles, and she said, just come out to LA. I was like, okay. So a mutual friend of ours, Cheryl, and we moved out to Los Angeles, and that was in the mid 90, 97, 96, 97. And I started freelancing. So I was a production assistant, and I got a job with my sister. It was a commercial, and I was picking up garbage, and I went, this is not for me. So I bought a laptop and said, I'm a coordinator. I didn't know how to do anything, but that was kind of my first foray into, oh, I see. If you act the part, think the part, can figure out the part, just do it. And so I very quickly moved my way up to line producing. And then after a few years doing everything, PA, coordinator, production managing, line producing, I went, I'm just going to start my own company. How naive was that? And I convinced Taylor, my now business partner, Taylor Ferguson. We've been partners for 25 years, she and I. And she was working at a company where I was doing a very big Mountain Dew commercial. And I said, what are you doing here? Let's just go start our own. I mean, we were both single, not married, had no kids. And it took a little bit of convincing because she made a lot of money at the time. And 9/11 happened. And I think that was our catalyst of, our time here on Earth is very limited, isn't it? you don't know. You don't know what's ever going to happen. So why not just jump off that cliff and see? And we did it. And people ask me all the time, like, I know, but what about your business plan? Did you have a business? I don't have a business degree. I did not know how to write a business plan. In fact, our business plan, which I found the other day, was, I don't know. I haven't a clue. What are you talking about? I'm not doing this anymore. So, 3-4 pages into a business plan, I was like, what are we doing this for? Because we're not going to get a loan. We each put in $500. And that was it. That was the only investment we ever made, ever. We never did it. But what we did have was, and it's not for the faint of heart, we had just moxie and time and passion. And I mean, you know this more than anyone. You don't stop working. You don't, there's no punching a time card and like, whew, that was a long day. It's just a constant every single day, every week, but it's still fun. And it was very fun back then because there was no social media. Did we have cell phones? We did have cell phones back then.
Blackberries.
Yes.
Did we have pagers?
No. We did have a cell phone, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, it was just an always just a passion for like what the business is and was. And I loved it and still do love it because I have to get up every day and be the master of my own destiny. Who wouldn't want that? I mean, again, you know more than anyone what it's like to be an entrepreneur, what it's like to own your own business. You don't get to look around and say, like, what am I doing today? It's like up to me to figure out what I'm doing today. I don't say to a manager, like, I'm the manager. It's like, and we just have kept going and going and going and going. And I will still keep going until I can't go anymore.
But things are changing.
Things are changing.
And you're still busy.
When I walked in here, I told you this year, 2026, has started out as the busiest year I've ever seen in my life ever. It usually takes a few weeks for the year to ramp up for whatever reason. It started out like gangbusters. And we're shooting a few jobs right now. I have the big one here in LA. I think we're bidding 8 other projects. What are we, like 3 years into the new year? So I'm excited for what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm excited because last year was very tumultuous for all businesses, right? Because of the administration, uncertainty. Tariffs really was a big hit for us.
Yeah, because you deal with a lot of product companies.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you own a Home Depot, right, last year, and how are you going to know what to set aside for your marketing budget when tariffs might hit you next month or so companies have to plan for what they're going to spend on advertising, for the year, for the quarter, whatever. And so I think a lot of that was, we really were hurt by that. It was tough. And then fourth quarter of last year, things just really started to pick up. And it was like, okay, we're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. The city of Los Angeles, as far as filming goes, is in trouble, which is hard to watch because this has been my home for almost 30 years now, which I can't believe. Will it ever come back? I don't know. I'm doing my part to bring as much business as I can to LA. So this big shoot I have next week is really great. I'm very thankful to be able to employ so many crew members here, help them with their health insurance. We're a union company. So that is always really gratifying for me when I can embark on projects like this and hire a very large crew for as many days as I can. So
when you were growing up, did you ever think that you were going to be a business owner or an entrepreneur?
My father was an entrepreneur. He had his company for 25 years. And so as I now embark on my 26th year as an owner, hi, Dad. I really think, inherently growing up, I would see my father come home at 2, 3 o'clock, and he would show up for every school event. He coached my brother's basketball team, my brother's baseball team. And so I saw this life that he really role modeled, which was, I'm not going to work at Boeing or Weyerhaeuser, which is typically where people worked in Seattle. He really started from the bottom in the warehouse, worked his way up, bought the company, and 25 years just toiled away and was very successful. And so he was a real role model for me. I didn't know it. I had no idea I was going to follow in that path of entrepreneur, but watching him and the luxury he had of time was very attractive to me.
Or the freedom to decide what to do with that time.
Yes. And he, God bless my father. He passed away a few years ago, but the one thing I didn't take from him was his constant source of anxiety. Because I think ultimately that's what killed him, because he smoked 50 years, the anxiety of it. Because it's so stressful owning your own company, because it has never been just, easy. It's hard and it's cyclical. And sometimes you are like at the top of the world. And sometimes you're like, we're going to go bankrupt. What are we going to do? We're not going to. And then you have to take a deep breath, think about things logically. And that's what was really helpful for me, to have a business partner where we can not freak out together, but talk things through. I could never do this on my own. You kind of do it on your own, right?
Yeah. But my father said, it's like a marriage, and you have the perfect marriage. How did you know Taylor was going to make a perfect business partner?
I didn't. But when I was line producing this very big job, and it was just riddled with problems. The director wanted to blow up sacred Indian land in Monument Valley. So I was, well, we can't do that. So I had to call Taylor, and she was always very calm and funny. So humor my whole life has gotten me through everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's inappropriate where I'll just start laughing because the situation is so absurd, right? And on this big job I was doing, we were in Alaska, and he wanted to blow up glaciers, and we got served a lawsuit. I'm like, so I'm going to call Taylor and see how we can work this out together. And we really just had this really, really nice working relationship from the get-go. And it was wonderful. And that's when I went, maybe we should do something together. And it has just worked. We don't fight. We don't get into spats. I don't know. We just work it out. It's nice because there's no way I could do this on my own. No way. So she is on the top of my favorites on my cell phone. Over my husband, over my kids. It's Taylor's at the top. We talk because we talk all the time. You have to. There's just, this business by nature is riddled with problems, issues, scenarios that you just go, there's no training for this. No college education could help you through this. A lot of it is common sense. So what do we do? How are we going to get out of this one? How are we going to get out of this jam? And we really logically, very calmly figure it out. And so now that we're part of a bigger entity, I have even more people to reach out to. But we still it's just the two of us, really, for the most part, every day on a day-to-day. And it's nice.
Yeah, it is true. You are probably one of the funniest people I know. And you have this magnetic, charismatic personality that makes people feel calm. Were you born like that? Or did you have to hone that once you got
My father was very funny. He was the funniest person I've ever met in my life. My brother is very funny. Humor just gets me through stuff, because if you step back and look at this insane problem, right, that's on my plate. Not at the moment, thank God. But it's fun. It's not funny, but it is funny. It's just
you can't make these things up that happen.
You can't make these things up. And production inherently by nature is just, it's insane. There's so many things that go wrong and do go wrong. And because I am the executive producer, I oversee the crew, and you just get these calls and you sigh, and then I just go, so how are we going to get through this? And I make sure I hire a very good team. Working with a really great team right now, and it's riddled with issues. And you have to just talk it through and have a really good sense of humor of it. Well, what happened? A head client, he was like, I might come out and the client might want an elephant. I'm like, you know what? I'll get you an elephant. Don't worry about it. And he's like, okay, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'll get you whatever. Don't worry about it.
And then they sign.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Because you could just always figure
it out.
You can figure it out.
Yeah.
But some of the requests were a little absurd.
Like what?
Find me an elephant for tomorrow. I'm like, all right, I'll find you. I was talking to my husband. I met my husband in the business, and I was talking to him the other day because lately birds have been flying in a V. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I walk a lot, and I'm always looking up at the sky. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of a commercial we were doing up in Oregon, and the clients were like, when is the V of birds gonna fly over? I'm like, what do you like? We were. I didn't know that was a thing. We need the V of the birds to fly over in like an hour. I'm like,
In an hour.
okay. We might not be able to do that, but we can certainly like do that in post-production if we can't get it to look exactly how you want it. Anyway, I can't remember how we solved that problem, but things like that.
I think I remember this one thing. I don't know if it was you.
What?
Burger King commercial, and someone had posted it on Instagram or something. And was that you? Or was that someone else I was talking to?
No, we did have an intern post very NDA creative on our blog. And yes, that was us, and they flipped out, rightly so. So my friend Laura, who was in social media, Laura, did some kind of report and said, like, 6 people saw it, and we took it down immediately. Of course, I apologize. It really was an intern. God bless her. She was just like doing her job. She was so excited. Yes. So things now are very, like, the project I'm doing next week is very NDA. And sometimes you'll have a crew member, and how do you monitor all of that? And you say on the call sheet, no social media, none, but you'll have some people, and I'll just go, hey, no, take that down. Like, it's tough because there's so many things. How do how do you control it? There are 80 people on your set. Like, I don't know most of them. I don't know their social media handles. You just hope you're hiring professionals and they don't advertise what you're doing because it hasn't come out yet. And it's the big deal to people.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. A lot of people involved in behind the scenes of that and how long it's been going on.
So you became chill, or you learned to be chill?
I learned to be chill.
You learned to be chill.
Yeah.
How? You need to learn how to be chill.
I went and got a master's in psychology.
Oh, that's what it was.
Very early on in starting my business, I think 2 years in, I went, I am really missing something here. And because my first knee-jerk reaction was to get really angry. And I realized I was missing something. And so I went back, got a master's in psychology. And I remember writing papers at 3 a.m. And I was like, oh my God. But it was the best thing I ever did ever in my life. And I really attribute what I learned in that program to it's going to be okay. Like, look at the source, because the root of fear, right? Everything in my business is kind of fear-based. So do you know what the root of fear is, right? Or anger, I'm sorry. Yeah. The root of anger is fear. Oh, yeah. Look, I blew the lead. So people would get angry, and I would go, why are they so angry? And I would go, oh, they're scared of losing their job. Yeah. I get it. Let me just work with that. Instead of getting angry, because 2 people getting angry, like we're both afraid, like what's this? Like, that's not going to help at all.
You're very good at melding people together as well, too.
Yeah. I like that.
How do you do that?
I'm genuinely interested in people and their stories. I mean, we all have a story that we're living and trying to make a living, trying to support your family. And if you stop for a moment and think of a client as a human being with a family at home, you don't know what's going on. I mean, I remember, I'll go back to my father. When my father died, he died of lung cancer. And I was sitting at my desk in my office writing his obituary. And then I had a conference call, and I'm like, this is absurd. And no one knows that my father had died. I was writing, you know what I mean? So I feel like everyone has a story to tell. And if you stop for a moment and think a little bit about this person who had to fly out for my shoot next week, and they're leaving young kids or an ailing parent or a marriage that's falling apart, you don't know. So stop and think a little bit more about the human aspect of people, instead of, the business part of it, which of course is one part of it, but I like hearing people's stories, you know?
So you actually do ask them questions, or
Yeah.
do you just reframe it? For me, like if someone's speeding, I'm like, oh, she's got to go to the hospital because she's going to give birth, or like I make stuff in my stories up in my head because I can't ask, like, why are you speeding? You know?
You spend a lot of time with people when you're producing a
Okay.
commercial.
So you get a chance to know them.
Mhm. You do. And yeah, you know, I think people, I don't know what you have found, but I feel like people just sometimes need a sounding board. Lay it on me. What do you got? You know?
So you love to listen.
I do. I didn't used to. I didn't.
And that was because of your psychology master's degree.
I think so. And getting older and growing more into my role as a, you know, producer, and like not having so much imposter syndrome, feeling like I know how to handle all these people when I show up on a set or on stage and everyone's staring at me and I'm like, we're good. Because I've done this for so long. I've done the work. I'm really, I prepare. I make sure everything is checked and marked on and like that. We go into our shoot day, we're good. And so then that frees me up to chat with the anxious creative director or the client who, you know, is having issues with it. And you only have a certain amount of time to get your shooting done. So we all got to work really, really fast.
Yeah.
Like, I just need people to know, like, I got you.
So you create a culture immediately.
I like to
Yeah.
of, I got you. Because also I would never take a project I couldn't deliver on. If it didn't have enough money or not enough time, I would just pass.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember you told me about that triangle.
yeah. So in production, it's cheap, fast, good.
Right.
Pick two.
Right.
It works every single job.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Right.
And now with like a little more experience and like, how risky do I want to get? How experienced is my director? That's fun. It's a puzzle. I'm always putting together puzzles. It's a puzzle piece on every production. Like, so every director, it's like I can get risky with him, but not with her. And maybe that duo pull back a little, like, you know. But what has really helped me in my business is instincts.
Mm.
You just have to trust your instincts, don't you?
Do you have have you honed your intuition or your instincts?
Yes. Yes, I have. You just have to trust. And like I tell my children, I have a 12 and 13-year-old daughters, and they'll second guess themselves on a test. I'm like, trust your gut. It's always right. I mean, it
Yes.
is
Yeah.
right. And that comes immediately for
Yeah.
me. You know, I also over the years got very into trusting the universe. I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but the answers are right there.
Yeah.
Or even if I'll close my eyes for a second, I'm like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
You have to do
Yeah.
that too.
So no overthinking, because I think
No.
that's the issue. Everyone ruminates and they overthink.
And I feel like that's why people don't start businesses.
Yeah.
Because they go, I mean, I no, like, just do that thing.
Do the next 5 steps. Yeah.
Right. Or you can really learn anything you want. There's so much out there, podcasts, books, things like, you know, I also have a very small circle of people that I trust, very small. Those are my advisors. Those are the people I go like, let me run something by you. I mean, it's tiny. I like it that way, right? I don't want to vomit my life to everybody. That's just who I am. That's how I work. But I've really been able to hone in when I get very quiet about what the right answer is, or what's the next step, or like what should I do here in this situation. I didn't have that for a while, but it really works for me. I like it.
Yeah. Dan Quiggle in his book, he talks about the kitchen table, like the person that you could put in your kitchen table and just have a chat. And speaking of which, you know, the reason why I'm part of EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, is because of you.
Oh, I know.
So tell everyone the story about EO.
So a wonderful producer I know in Boston, his name is Erin Lobel. He's just one of those people. I just love him. And he was telling me about this organization, and I went, oh, well, I have to, Kalika, you're like the most amazing person, human being, but business oriented person I know. And you were doing things before anybody. Remember, you were working at Cyber Java.
Cyber Java.
It was like an internet cafe. We're all like, she's gonna cry. What is she?
We need an intervention. Remember, you guys tried to intervene.
Yeah, we were like, Kalika, I mean, I don't know.
You used to be a tape producer at CNBC, and now you're getting $6 under the table working at this internet cafe.
Right. And we were
at the
like,
community.
what's the internet? Like, come on, this is weird. Anyway, but you have this thing. It's inherent to you too. Like, what do you mean? Of course it's going to be. And you're always just so funny about like, what are you talking about? Of course it's going to be good. So I'm like, anyway, you have to like join this program or let me introduce you to this entrepreneurs organization. It's right up your alley. And aren't you like the president now?
I was in 2018, but now look, I'm doing the podcast for EO.
Okay.
And this is crazy because you said you were going to join.
I know.
I was going to join because you were.
I know. Sorry. I mean, it's hard. It's hard because not as much so now, but I travel a lot for shoots, and I couldn't commit to that. You know, if I'm going to do something, I really want to commit to it and be there and show up to the meetings and there's no way.
Yeah. But you also helped me get my start. I mean, when Tadao dumped me, remember you like housed me for like, I was homeless and you slept on your couch.
It was a futon.
Oh yeah. It was a futon. You know, when people were saying that, yeah, you're couch surfing, what do they call those?
Couch surfing. Yeah.
I was couch surfing.
Yeah. You didn't stay long. We were pleasant to have around. And then one day you were so appreciative that you gave us $75 in cash in a yellow flower pot. I'm like, honey, you don't have to do that.
Like, what's wrong with you?
There might have been some other things in that flower pot, like candy or something. I'm like, yeah, that's so sweet, but we don't mind. Like, you didn't stay long. And then what did you do after Cyber Java? Was it
the Getty?
Oh yes, the Getty, which you still do, don't you? So watching you was really inspirational for me, even though we didn't see each other much because we were always so busy. But you were just nothing was ever a problem.
Really?
No.
That's how I feel about you because you're always so calm and always, I don't know.
You always have a little bit more matter of fact. Like, what are you talking about? Like I saw you a couple months ago at the Soho House in Malibu. You're like, this is my office. I'm like, of course it is. And like, you had all these like beautiful young kids, or maybe they're not, I don't know, working for you. And this is my team. I'm like, who just sets up a team at the Soho House?
The Beach House.
You're like, come here anytime. I'm like, okay. Like everything was
fun.
Everything for you is always just very, of course. I love that about you. So sometimes I do think about you sometimes. I'm like, of course it's going to work out. Like,
well, we had a really big conversation about AI. This time last year, we were meeting and we were talking about AI and you were just like, what is going to happen?
Yeah, that conversation stressed me out.
Yeah.
All the way home on PCH, I had to turn, I like drove in silence. Yeah. Because AI is here.
Yeah.
AI is not going away. I thought AI was going to take my job. I now look at AI as a tool, a really interesting tool. I don't know, like, I'm not going to be like an AI creator, but I do see the benefit of it. It's flawed though. Mm-hmm. It's flawed, isn't it? And I think that's one thing people don't really know.
That's why they still need the human part of it.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I got friends that put stuff into ChatGPT all the time. I'm like, that's flawed. It's not just going to like give you everything you want right away. Yeah. So you were the first to go, I mean, Erin, thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Agents are going to be training agents.
Yes.
So I really drove home going, this is like such doublespeak to me, but of course I had to like research it and like really dive into it. Cause if you told me about it, it's happening. And our company now has signed up for a course, an AI training course. Good. And everyone in the company is being trained in AI. Yeah. And a lot of that, I was saying, guys, we got to get on this because of you. And isn't that cool that we're not offering to every employee? It's not cheap, a really great course in AI. if you want to be a creator, or like for me, I just need to know what it is.
Exactly.
If clients go like, can you guys do AI? Yes, of course we can. But what does that mean exactly?
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, I'm just going to chat and put in some prompts and you have a commercial. No. It's still flawed in that for imagery, right?
Hugely.
And also the
photorealism isn't there.
Yeah. And I think too, like who is AI for? Like, who wants to follow an AI influencer? I don't know. I not me, but I don't know. So as far as where I sit, for images, I think it's still a way off.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know exactly where things hold, but think about this. We couldn't do anything about the internet. The internet came.
Yeah.
And it produced Uber. It produced Walgreens being delivered to your house if you have a fever. Who would have known?
It's funny. My kids and I were talking the other day, those Coco robots that deliver food. I go, you guys think about this. Like, you can order food to get delivered by a robot, and we take Waymos all the time. I'm a huge Waymo fan.
Okay.
Hi, Waymo. I want to do your advertising. I do. I love it. Have you taken Waymo?
No, my daughter does.
It's fabulous. Yeah. I find it very safe.
It's safer, they say, than an Uber driver.
I think so. I mean, I also think Uber is great. We take it to the airport all the time. When my daughters are old enough to take Waymos by themselves, you better believe that's what they're going to be doing. Yeah, we're in an interesting age, aren't we? Of you have to just lean into all of it. Yeah, you can't just say I'm not going to learn about it.
When I started, doing websites and we started offering e-commerce shops, I remember people would say we would never ever order anything, just like how you're saying, like, what was the other question? Is it here yet? I mean, we all thought that we weren't going to order anything online. People are now ordering Maseratis on WeChat in China. And it's been years. It's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Again, I think you have to lean into all of this technology and embrace it. AI, the summer of 2025 was AI freak out.
Yeah.
And we got through it, and we're still here, and it hasn't taken over. I do worry a bit about the future for our children, what that looks like for them. But for the moment, this is where we are, right?
So what I've heard is the same basic skills, being able to connect with people, storytelling, which you're really good at. So if you teach them those skills of storytelling, being able to tell your story, being able to tell other people's stories, that's still very human, and that's still very needed.
Yes, because I think as human beings, we need personal connection. I mean, I'm remote, so we had a beautiful office for
gorgeous
18 years.
Gorgeous.
Right? And COVID hit, and we were about to sign another 3-year lease.
And you're like, why?
The 11th hour we pulled out, and we had 3 days to get out of this beautiful 3,500 square foot space that we had a art collection in. And, I mean, we had been there for so long, and it's, because I have a back house. I took over my husband's office. He's a cinematographer. He doesn't need an office. Put up wallpaper. It's great. And I go out there. It's quiet. I start my day at 7:45 when my kids are off to school. And I get so much done, because when we had an office and I had my office, like, there was a line of people at my door most days complaining about stuff. And I'm like, you guys, like, okay, like, I know, we'll figure it out. Like, I wouldn't get anything done. So now I love it. I love the quiet.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And then if I don't love the quiet, we'll just go to a restaurant or a meetup space, and Taylor and I and our assistant.
Right.
It's fabulous.
Right. Yeah.
It's made me more productive. It's made me more focused. Yeah. Because like I said, it's just me in this little space, and I love it. I can't imagine ever going back to an office. But like next week, when I need to have all these meetings with, 25 people, we just rent a space now.
Yeah.
And
where?
It's great. The space we're renting next week is on Gower. It's beautiful.
Is it like industrial, or is it like spaces?
Industrial, and it has a space where we can do wardrobe fittings, bring in all of our talent. I think there's 12 talent we need to do wardrobe fittings with, and a meeting for 20.
Yeah.
So I don't have to maintain this big office
Exactly.
anymore.
Yeah.
Because it was starting to get
It's
very
expensive.
costly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I look back on that now and I go, ooh. But at the time you had to have it. And
You had to.
Yeah.
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 People didn't get it. But after COVID, they think you're stupid. You do have an office.
Yeah, you didn't need it. I mean, every time, like when we had our office, I would show up, someone would be in my parking space. And
Yeah.
But it was fun. We had good times at that space and we needed it at the time. We had a lot of directors who loved to come into the office and they had offices, and there's something to be said for, that human connection, which I really don't think is ever going to go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having to pay for the cleaning lady, the mail is there,
Right.
Yeah. So
the copier's not working.
Yeah, exactly. The coffee machine isn't working, or
right. The dishwasher just broke. Like, you
got to fill the candy machine.
The director said we don't have any more sugar-free Red Bull. I'm like, can you just go out and get some? You don't have to worry about it anymore. So it's more fun to sit in my little space and just concentrate on what I'm doing. It's nice. It's quiet. I like that. And you know what else I do now that I'm not in my office? I walk a lot.
10,000 steps.
Yeah,
Probably.
I mean, I don't try to, but I like to walk on calls. It helps me think. Someone told me Steve Jobs used to do that.
Yes,
Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think better when I'm walking. I don't know why that is. There's there's a science behind it, but I love it. I walk like a crazy lunatic around my neighborhood all the time. With my AirPod. I don't know. Who cares? Like what? I don't care what people think I'm doing anymore.
I get the wired ones.
You know what? I need to go back to the wired ones
because they can really hear you.
I know. Mm-hmm. So that's something I incorporated the past 5 years since COVID. Is walking while doing business.
Yeah.
I love it. And sometimes I'll even just pace back and forth in my backyard.
Yeah. It's great, right? And you don't have to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah. But are you recording the calls? Like, that's the one thing is like, I try to do it on Zoom so I could record the call so I can take notes. So my AI can take notes later.
I do a fair bit of Zoom. I had a couple of Zooms this morning. But if I don't have to, if I'm just doing a traditional phone call, I'll try and do it while I'm walking.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
What is that? I have to look that up after this. I'll get back to you. We'll do a postscript on why Steve Jobs was the first to I'm sure he wasn't the first, but it's interesting and it really works for me.
Yeah, walking meetings are the best, even in person. That's what I used to do too. When I used to live in the Palisades and I used to take meetings at the beach.
And walk.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. I started it because I used to be such a stickler for everyone having to go to the office, me going to the office because I was so, structured. But then after I went to Hawaii for about 3 months because my mom was dying and I was working remote, and that's what I was doing up and down Waikiki, just taking meetings. I'm thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And people didn't care that I wasn't in an office and I got the work done and I got 25,000 steps in. Like, it was just bizarre.
It's just funny you said that because I used to think like, I have to be in the office 8:30 to 6.
Yeah.
So was that it? Who told us we had to do that?
Well, because we grew up in that era. We grew up with MTV and the Today Show and NBC. Like, we were there.
Right.
And if you weren't there, you were a loser.
Right. Yeah, I remember strolling into MTV sometimes at like 9:30, 10. They're like, whatever, Tauscher. I'm like, I was out, with people last night till like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm not going to roll in at 8:30. I probably should have, but so I this new way of working for me, I love it. It gives me so much freedom. You know what I get to do every day? Pick up my kids from school.
See, like your dad did, or not pick up, but
I mean, our school is, granted, it's 3 minutes away. They could probably walk home, but it's so fun.
Isn't that sweet?
And even though my kids are getting a little older now, I'll be in the car line and they look for me. And when they see me in my car, they go, and it's that I'm never, here's another thing. I am never late. And so I noticed that with my kids, when I say I'm going to be there a certain time, even if they're at the mall or something, I'm on time. And I am always on time for call. I'm early.
Yeah.
I try to be early.
You were early today.
I was early today because in the film business, if you're not early on set, you're late. If you have a 5 if you have a 5 a.m. call, you be there at 4:45. Some people think it's funny because I'm always early.
Yeah.
and I'll just sit in my car if I think it's inappropriate to go in or whatever. But that I love. And I have instilled in my children that I'm always going to be there on time. Always.
Yeah.
Even when we're going to like a volleyball game or something and they're like, we're sitting in traffic, we're going to be late. I'm like, have your father and I ever gotten you anywhere late? No, we have not, because he is also in the business.
Yeah.
And like for so many years, like you can never show up late. So I expect that of the people who also work with us.
Yeah.
Be on time.
Yeah.
Because I find it disrespectful if you're late. It means you don't respect my time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a power move too, for sure.
To be late or be on?
To be late. It's a power move.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I find it arrogant to think that you could be late for something that started at 3.
Unless there's an emergency. Yeah. Yeah, those are the things that you can actually control. A good attitude and being on time.
Yes. And also getting up in the morning and saying, what is my day going to be like today? You know, as I get older, I'm 55 now, and we don't know how much time we have left here. So what am I going to do with the hours I have today? Yeah. I'm going to do something really great. I'm not going to sit there and complain about lack of this or whatever. Like, I'm going to go out and find something. Yeah. And I do that every day. I do it every day. Sometimes I don't want to. I'm tired or whatever. But I'm like, you can't just like sit here and like, what do we do? Go on Twitter or like read the news? No, I'm going to look for opportunities, or I'm going to look at a reel. I'm going to look at directors. I'm going to be inspired by snippets of a film or a TV show people keep talking about. Like I'm watching Landman right now. Are you watching?
Everyone is talking about Landman.
How are you watching it?
No. Is it worth it?
Oh, good.
Okay, I'm watching it.
So over the holiday break, I binged it, and I said to my husband, like, should we like buy an oil well? He's like, what's wrong with you? It is so.
Demi Moore, I heard, is amazing.
It is ridiculous. It's so phenomenally. It's so well done.
I'm watching The Pit.
It's fantastic. I love The Pit. I mean, I was at ER. Yeah. Right? We grew up watching that.
I did not know that was Noah Wiley.
Isn't he fabulous?
Yes.
He's spectacular.
I did not know it was him. He was so unrecognizable.
And it took them a long time to get that off the ground. You know, I have to consume a lot of media because it comes up a lot. And Landman was something, and I'm like, I'm not going to watch something about oil. Oh my goodness. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I love that. So
your day, you have time to watch Landman.
Yeah, I'll watch like half an episode or something, because then I'm like, I should not be doing that. You know, I have to like be doing what I don't know if I'm not busy that day. But I try to find inspiration. I mean, the internet, like, come on, you can do anything you want, right?
Yeah. Do you listen to any podcasts or read any books that are inspiring?
I do. You know, I listen to. Sometimes I have to just check out. So I'm a huge fan of Smartless.
Love that.
I listen to every single episode. Yeah. I love it.
They're funny.
They're funny. And sometimes I like to hear their stories. Yeah. I like to hear other guests who they have on. Like I just listened to Ricky Gervais. It's like funny.
Yeah.
I'm sure you love this too, but like Mel Robbins is she's amazing. She's fabulous.
She's amazing.
You know what I like about her? She's just very like matter of fact.
Yeah.
And she makes sense.
Yeah.
Her like let them theory is what really drew me in, like everybody. I love her.
Yeah.
I used to listen to How They Made This.
Oh, yeah.
Like, have you ever listened to that?
Hoffman, yeah. How I Built This.
How I Built This.
Yeah.
I love that. But sometimes I just need to kind of check out a little bit. I love Good Hang with Amy Poehler. She has funny guests. Have you ever listened to it?
Well, I know she won like a Golden Globe. I need to check it out. So it's worth it.
Okay. You know what? It is, because it's like lighthearted. I can't just be learning all the time, right? I can't be like reading all these business books. I mean, it's like sometimes I'm like, I gotta just check out and listen to some funny banter while I'm walking.
Yeah.
I can't listen to a podcast. I'm like, I can only do it while I'm walking. So books. You know, the one book I recommend to everyone is The Untethered Soul.
Oh, I love Michael Singer. Michael Singer's the best.
I mean, I think I've read that book over a dozen times. And sometimes I'll refer back to it for certain things. I think chapter 2 is really insightful for me.
Just how he started. barefoot teaching as a professor, like, right? Like,
and how he wrote that book
Yeah.
during he was being sued.
because he merged with what, WebMD,
Yeah.
right, at that point?
He's
Yeah.
an incredible
Yeah, and then
writer.
and there's no right, the FBI was after him,
Yeah.
and he did not do anything wrong.
No.
Like, they cleared him
Yeah.
completely.
His book is incredible. I really, that's the most recommended book I give to people. You know, I do read, but Think and Grow Rich, Best Salesman in the World. I love all
Yeah.
those kinds of books.
Mm.
But again, sometimes I just have to check out and I'll read fiction.
Yeah. And so we both started our businesses before we even had our boyfriends,
Yeah.
right, or husbands,
Yeah.
and also didn't have kids. It was definitely much easier, I think,
Mhm.
without a family. But aren't you glad that you had a family? I mean,
They are who I do this for.
right.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll get frustrated. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, so what I love is that my children. So when people are go, what are your kids going to do for when they grow up? So I say to my kids, like, what kind of business are you going to open? Isn't that fun?
I try to sneak that in, but the
Yeah.
girls are just,
No, they're not buying it.
well, because they already had their business and they're like, oh, we've been there, done that, so.
They had their cookie business.
Yeah.
So like my youngest daughter, she goes, I want to be a teacher, but I know they don't make that much money. I'm like, well, money shouldn't come into play here, but think about maybe owning your own school.
Right.
The preschool you went to was started by your teachers. Isn't that cool? You could
Right.
own a school.
Right.
Or your old principal, she started a school. So it's reframe your thinking a little bit. I don't know. I love that they know that I'm my boss. I'm my own boss. And
the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
Right?
And they, they've only been to set twice in their lives.
Wow.
Once of mine and once of my husband. I don't want them going into this business, but
Why not? Why not? Because it's hard, or?
Yeah, I just think I don't know what the future is.
Mm.
It's getting more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But they're little math geniuses.
Yeah, good.
So go off and do something in STEM, or my daughter wants to design F1 race car tires. She wants to figure out how to make race car tires go faster if the track gets too hot. Like, she's such a genius in math.
Okay, good.
So I like the way they think, and that's not entertainment. Because a lot of what I did, starting my business, I was just kind of winging it.
Yeah.
No one taught me how to
smart.
do this. So they don't think they need to wing it. They both have the smarts to do whatever.
Yeah. So did you ever think about working with your sister because she was in the biz?
Yes, she has worked for me many times.
Yeah.
And I worked for her when I first moved to LA. My brother has worked for us.
But as a business partner?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and you know it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. She doesn't have that just kind of, let's go with the, I love that quote, that Zen quote, like, leap in the net will appear.
Yeah.
She's a little bit like, I'm
not leaping.
I'm not leaping.
Yeah.
No, but I've hired her to do projects.
Yeah.
With
like
me.
a worker bee, right.
Yeah, she's very good at that. She likes to have a clipboard.
Yeah, she's so organized.
And she likes to but sometimes in this business, you can't have a clipboard.
Right.
And you have to get real instincts.
And creative. You're very creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And she is very, I like to have all my boxes checked before I go to bed. Sometimes those boxes they're not going to get checked. And that's okay.
And is Taylor like that too? Just like, well,
Taylor is she's very calm.
Yeah.
She's very calm. She's very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really complement each other. You can't go into business, marriage or business with someone who is like you. It's just not going to work. No. So I'm a little bit more of the and Taylor's a little bit more of the, it's like, okay. So, but what we both have is we both have a really good sense of humor and a good, okay, what are we going to do now?
Right.
Take a sigh.
Right. Take a sigh.
Go, oh my God, we're really screwed on this one. okay, what are we going to do?
You're right.
You know, I'll give you one example. So we were shooting a commercial, and so when you have a commercial, you're hiring like 60 to 80 people to work on it. It's very fast paced. You don't know everybody, but you just hope they're all professionals, right? And so one time the location manager on the permit put down the wrong shoot day. Okay, so the line producer who did not check that permit called us in a panic and said, "We don't have a location for tomorrow." This was 11:30 p.m. at night.
Oh.
And I said, "What are you talking about?" She dropped the ball. She knew it. That location manager dropped the ball. She knew it. In that instance, I wanted to strangle both of them and scream at them, "What are you going to do?" Right?
Right.
So we ate it, paid for it. We paid for that day. It was about $100,000. And I was sleeping, and I remember Taylor calling my husband, and he came and woke me up. I'm like, "Oh, this can't be good."
Right.
What do
Eat it.
you ate it? Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll make it up on the next couple of projects.
Right.
So you can either like get into a fetal position and just go, "We're done."
So it was the next day after was
So the next day, we couldn't shoot because there was no permit.
Right.
So the next day we had to figure this all out. And so all in, it cost about $100,000 to fix a little mistake. And so now every permit has to be run by me or every location agreement has to be run by me or by Taylor before we are shooting.
So you do learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And so that's why you get better.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's another thing too.
You have to.
Yeah. My thing is never make the same mistake twice.
Right. I mean, we couldn't afford it.
Right.
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 I'd be out of business.
Right.
You have to learn from it. Look, everybody's human. I get it.
Right. But it's never going to happen again.
Never. Nope. No, it'll never happen again.
Right. So are you using that line producer again or?
No.
Yeah.
No, she never worked for us again.
Right.
Sorry. I mean, no. Yeah. Neither did that location manager. And again, like, sorry, but like no.
Yeah. Mm-mm. You know where to draw the line.
Yeah. I didn't scream at anyone. I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah. But yeah, they knew.
They knew.
Yeah.
You give them a look. I like nonverbal cues.
Right. Oh my gosh. So what are you looking forward to in 2026?
You know what? I'm really looking forward to a lot of the projects we have already come out of that we're bidding. So those are all going to hit. I know they are. And I just signed a new woman director.
Good.
I'm really excited about her. I love discovering new talent, which I haven't been able to do in the past year so much because I was like really in the muck trying to get new business. Mm-hmm. So finding new talent is so exciting always to me. And working with that person and building their reel and building their career and like off you go.
Yeah.
That is one of the best things for me. Yeah. And so I'm really looking forward to working with new talent this year.
Yeah.
And working on projects we haven't done. And we get a lot of repeat business, which is really awesome. It's a real tribute to how we run the company. So right now we're working with some existing clients. And then there's been some new ones popping up too, and new directors and new talent. So I always want to see what else is out there.
Yeah.
Embracing AI. Maybe we'll do a project that is a quarter AI.
Yeah.
And that'll be a new learning experience. I have to be challenged a lot, else I get very bored really quickly. Yeah. So maybe we'll be able to do something with AI or I don't know, something that I've never done before. Like I was shooting on a volume stage last year, a big project. That was really fun.
What's that?
So you're shooting on stage. And then in the background, we were working with ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, and we shot in 5 countries in one day on stage. And I had never done it before. And it was incredible. It was so much fun. It doesn't take place of actually going to those countries, but you couldn't, right. Time-wise and financially. So that was very fun. So there's going to be a ton of new technology this year that I'm going to learn and make me grow as a producer, and we'll see what happens. Because it's like the Wild West out there. Embrace it. Lean into it. Let's go.
Right. And still bring in humans because we still need to employ people. Like who else is going to do the jobs?
We need to employ people. I don't think that's going away. No. I don't think it's going to go away.
No robots for commercials yet.
No. Maybe a little bit in post. We're already seeing some of that, but at the moment, it's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool that I've stopped freaking out about and I'm learning to embrace.
Yeah.
So 2026, like, let's go, because I don't want another 2025. That was not a fun year.
Well, there's going to be a huge divide between super users and people who use ChatGPT like Google. So you're going to be more than that, like you're creating a team that at least know what AI is and what it's capable of. So you're on the right track.
Okay, good. I mean, let's go.
Yeah.
You have to embrace it, lean into it, and learn it. I'm all for it.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've been trying to get you on the podcast for years.
I know. Sorry. I even drove to the Valley to see you because I love you and admire you so much.
Well, the valley's where friendships go to die.
Not this one.
Not you. Thank you so much. And how do people find you if they want to hire you to do commercial?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, bodegastudios.com. And you'll see me on the website. I'm one of the Los Angeles-based executive producers.
And
Give me a
owners.
shout. And owners, yeah.
Yeah, you're the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalika.
Bye.